Let's talk about methods in Java. Hello and welcome back to another video here on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about methods, how you can create one, how you can use one. Pretty epic. Let's get into it. Now, before we start, I did leave you with a bit of a question in the previous video. This is the solution behind it. A method in Java is a block of code that runs when it is called. So basically, you would have code in here, for example, the system.println hello world and whatnot. You can have all that. So whenever this main method is called, you get hello world on the terminal. So the same way it actually works with Java. So let's talk about how you can create a method and how you can use a method. So this is a method. This right here, this is a method, and you've dealt with it since the first day you started programming. So this is a method. And as you can see, there's a few things that make up a method. This is what we call the method signature. This is what differentiates this from another method, which would also be called main. So let's actually go through what you're going to need. The first thing you're going to need is an access modifier. And an access modifier is basically where your method is visible from. Is it visible from classes in the same package? Is it visible from other packages? Is it only visible with its inheritors? All of that, I do have a detailed video on access modifiers. Link down below in the description. I'll be sure to link that. First going to need, for example, an access modifier. So this one wants to be public. Now you need a static or a non-static keyword here. And what this is, it basically shows whether or not you need an instance, an object to access the method. So I've prepared an example here. We have these two fields. We've got this static field and a non-static field. So let's see what the difference is. We're going to go here, and here let's just say we have the oop class want to access the method, the fields. So oop dot, you will see that we don't need an object to access the static fields or static methods. You will not need an object to access these. However, to access the non-static ones, you are first going to need an object. So this is the difference between static and non-static fields. So yeah, that's like the basic definition of the basic difference, rather, what you need to know for now. So we're gonna need this to be a static. Oh yeah, and static methods only work in other static methods. If you have a static method, it will not work in a non-static method. Next thing you're going to need is a return type. So a return type is what the method does after calling the code. So you can have void, which is what we usually deal with, like this. It just runs the code and then finishes, and then it's finished. Or you can return something like an integer. You can return a number, or you can return a string, or you can return an oop, whichever one that you want. We're going to do the void for now. So we can say, and then, yeah, so we can say that. And then we need a method name. So we can say method name. And this follows the Pascal, the camel naming convention, which means the first word lowercase and the first letter of every word that follows is going to be uppercase. So something like this. Method name here, like that. And then you're going to have brackets. This is where you pass in your values, that we call arguments or parameters. And then you have a curly brace, which is going to be the method body. So we have an access modifier, static or non-static, return type, method name, and then we need some parameters in here. So we're going to say something like string name. So let's change this to be something like print name, for example. And we're just going to have a few examples. So we're going to have string name, for example, as a parameter. You can have maybe integer age, and maybe something like float height. That's not how you spell height. Wow. And these are basically instances of these classes, so you can access the methods that belong to these classes. And just for goodness sake, you can also use something like oop, oop, something like that, right? So what you would do here, we just want to print out the name. We want it to uppercase. We can duplicate this a couple more times, and then in the second one, dot non-static field, which should return null considering we don't have any values assigned to it. So as you can see, we have all this. So now we can call our print name. Now we need to pass in everything. So we can say Andrew Jones, for example, whatever that is. Int age, I'm not going to tell my real age, I'm 34, obviously. Height, believe it or not, wait, actually this is a float, so I need to make sure we have an F at the end, and oop, we need to pass in an object, so we're just going to say something like new oop, like that. So we can now run this. And as you can see, Andrew is 34 years old. He's 2.17 meters tall. Null, because in this class, we did not specify what this would be equal to. If we wanted to, we could just say something like, I am non-static, for example. And now when we run this, we're going to see Andrew Jones is 34. He's 2.17 meters tall. I am non-static. So this is how a void method works. It just runs the code that is within it and then finishes, does nothing. Now the next one we can do is going to be returning a string. So it can return anything. You can return a string, you can return all of these things. String ref, whatever, string reference, you can return all of these. So as you can see, we now have that. So what this is, it's going to return a string. So I'm going to show you a little bit of an example. Let's say string details. Alright, so we have just hard-coded a very long string here. So this is hard-coded, and once it's written, you can never change it unless you come back to it and change it. But let's say different users have different ages, have different heights, and would say different things. So this is where this method comes in to the rescue for stuff like that. So a method that doesn't return void has to have the return, and then it needs to return the type that we've defined here. So if it's a string, this has to return a string. If it's an integer, it has to return an integer. If it's an oop, it has to return an oop, all that kind of stuff. So in here, we're just going to say name dot to uppercase So as you can see here, we have got basically the same data that we have here, except that here we're using variables. Now note that these can be used, like I've said, as objects of these classes. So this and this is an object of the OOP class. That's why we're able to have the non-static field. These are primitive types, so they don't have methods, but this string, this name is an instance of the string class, which is why we're able to have the to uppercase. And let's just have space here. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say, we're going to print out details. As you can see, Andrew is 67 years old, is 2.17 meters tall, and would say, I am non-static. So this is hard-coded, and let's say someone called Peter Jensen, for example, sorry if that's your name, if someone like that came around here, and trying to change this, well, they're out of luck, aren't they? So this is where methods come in. So this is a string. This method also returns a string. So what that means is we can return, that means we can actually print out, print name, and now I need to specify things. So you start with a name, which is a string. So we're going to say Andrew Jones. It doesn't matter which case you do here because we do have the uppercase. It'll be uppercase letters anyways. Then you separate with a comma. Now we need the second part here, which is the age. So 67. Another comma. Now we need the height. So 2.17, no, 2.17 f. And finally, we need an OOP object. So here we can either create one by, OOP is equal to new OOP, and then you pass that in, or you can just say new OOP right there. So let's now run that. Andrew Jones is 67 years old, is 2.17 meters tall, and would say, I am non-static. Pretty cool stuff. Now let's say we decided to change here to the Peter Jensen I mentioned before. Peter Jensen, let's say he is 45. Let's say he's one tall guy, 2.6, and new. Peter Jensen is 45 years old, is 2.6 meters tall, and would say I am non-static as well, because unfortunately this is a hard-coded value, so we won't change it anytime soon. But you see how useful methods are, as opposed to just having a string like this that can have a hard-coded value. A method will allow you to change up all this. So this is pretty amazing stuff. And because this is a static, we have the main method here, and we have print name. So same thing, print name, you need to have string name, int age, float height, not null, OOP, OOP. So like that. All right, now here are a few things to note out. You can have multiple of the same. So you can have multiple of these. So we're going to duplicate this, Control plus D to duplicate. So you can have multiple methods with the same name so long as they have a different signature. So signature will be different if it has something like maybe Boolean true. Boolean word. So as you can see, they have the exact same name, print name, but the method signature is different because it has different parameters. As you can see, this one has 4, this one has 5. Here we have 4 of these, and we cannot actually use them until they are all static, because unfortunately the methods in this class are all static. So IntelliJ is pretty cool, you can do that. So what this means is you can now have add, and as you can see, we have 4 different types of add. The only reason I'm not getting an error is because they have different signatures. So this one has 2 parameters, this one has 3 parameters, this one has 4 parameters, and this one has 5. So as you can see, this is what we call method overloading, and it's just having multiple methods with the same name but different signatures. So this is allowed, just make sure they have different parameters. Alright, that will go and do it for this video. So thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, notifications on so you don't miss the next upload, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Peace out.